How's it going, guys? I'm Connor from Running Warehouse. Today we're here with Danny Orr, the General Manager of Performance Running at New Balance. And Danny, we finally have it, the New Balance RC Elite V2. Now, we saw the version 1 not too long ago. Almost, I'd say 6 months later, we've got version 2. It's all new, higher stack heights, all new look. Tell us, what was the inspiration for this new design and what do we have different here?
Isn't it the most beautiful running shoe you've ever seen?
It's amazing.
I tell you what, I think for all the time that I've worked in this industry, I think this might be just the most favorite and most beautiful shoe I've ever been a part of, or our team's been a part of. And I think, to your point, we have sped this one up in relation to getting it to market. And I think the biggest thing there is that we're just learning, right? And this industry is moving. And ultimately, when it comes to our athletes and to our consumers, we want to be making sure that we're giving them the best opportunity to perform. And that's the main reason why we hurried this to market. I think coming from our sports research team and the things that we're learning, generally speaking, we haven't seen any instances where more foam has equaled less performance. And I think through the work of our lab, they realized that we were leaving a little bit on the table with the V1 potentially, just in terms of what those stack heights were, and the ability to take it up all the way to the legal limit was something that we were really interested in, and ultimately what that created was better results for us. It also allowed us to get a little bit more aggressive in terms of the plate shape, just because we had a little bit more real estate to be able to do that. The plate sits in the same position in the midsole, but it's just a little bit steeper in terms of its slope based on the fact that there's just a little bit more height to it. And I think one of the key pieces is that we've been able to maintain the height by and large in terms of, even though we've added a little bit more to the shoe, we still have a similar weight category, but then all those additional performance benefits from the foam and then the plate, as it were.
And FuelCell has been the midsole of choice in the RC Elite, and now, as you said, we've got a higher stack height. Do we still have the same compound, and what are we looking at in terms of responsiveness versus the last version?
Yeah, the compound's exactly the same. I think what you'll find as you put it on is that there's definitely an additional kind of cushion feeling based on the fact that there's just more foam. What we have seen though is that at higher speeds, the foam is performing very, very similarly or pretty much exactly the same. I think one of the key components, and we're hearing this in the wear test already, is that when you go higher and there's more foam and it's so soft, etc., people have concerns about, the stability of it. And I think one of the key things that we have definitely solved for in this shoe is the fact that we haven't lost any stability from the V1, which was definitely one of the key engineering challenges that the team was trying to solve for, and I believe that we did that.
And you talk a little bit about the carbon fiber plate. It's a little bit more aggressive now. Can you talk about the rigidity and any other differences we're going to see in terms of plate technology, V1 versus V2?
Yeah, so we actually use the same plate technology. We are working on new plates all the time, and we're working really hard with our vendors to make sure that we're in the forefront of that. And I think if you look at our track spikes, you'll see how we're going from a carbon fiber standpoint in relation to that bottom loading, as it were. In this shoe and the V1, as I said, the plate is the same. We do get that steeper shape, which we're excited about. I think what that does do is it will give you a little bit more of a feeling of pop off the forefoot. Yeah, but plates is an interesting one. I feel like it's a little bit like the Wild West out there. We're seeing so much and we're learning so much, and everything that we know to date is in this shoe, and we're incredibly excited about that.
Perfect. Now, moving on down to the outsole, we've got a little bit of rubber, a lot of exposed material in the midfoot. We see that often. You want to keep weight as light as possible. Can you talk about maybe some of the benefits of traction in super shoes like the RC Elite, and maybe how much durability you're expecting to get out of a shoe in terms of peak performance and then just overall lifetime of the shoe?
Yeah, I feel like the outsole is maybe one of the most controversial parts of this shoe, just because the consumers in the V1 absolutely love the Dynarite outsole. And again, we're reading the reviews almost as much as everybody else is, and the videos that you guys are doing. So we recognize that people really love that outsole. From a traction standpoint, the results in this one, though, for us have been as good. One of the key pieces is the ability for us to be a little bit more flexible in terms of shapes and in terms of placements in relation to some of those cutouts, while maintaining a very similar traction to what you had with your Dynarite outsole in the V1.
And you talk about the cutouts, obviously that's going to help keep weight down, help keep weight close to V1. It's going to be just a fraction higher. Is there any other performance benefits or reasoning for these cutouts?
No, this is very much a design aesthetic. And I think one of the key thought processes as well was giving the consumer the opportunity to just look into the center of the shoe just a little bit and see some of the technology inside it and understand where some of those performance benefits are coming from.
And the final thing we got to talk about with this shoe is the upper. We talked about how beautiful it looks. It's highly breathable, it's highly lightweight. Tell us a little bit more about this upper, what's going to make it so special, and maybe some of the balances between keeping an upper as light as possible, but also offering the supportive feel you need to get through those longer distances.
Yeah, it's a real challenge, right? I think everybody is so focused on weight right now and the effect of weight on your ability to perform as you want to, that everyone's looking to take as much out of these shoes as possible. And as I mentioned earlier, when you go up in height, the fear is a little bit about instability, and some of that feeling of stability is going to come from the upper as well. We definitely looked at how much we could deconstruct this to hit our weight targets while maximizing breathability and some flexibility in those key zones, while still maintaining some structure in the areas that you needed, particularly as you're getting towards the end of that marathon and wanting to make sure that you feel good and supportive for those last miles as well. I think as you look at it, what you'll recognize is where that different zonality exists, and you can see how much of that breathability exists in the forefoot. And then as you come back towards the saddle and the midfoot area, where we know that consumers looking for a little bit more lockdown, and certainly in the heel as well, you'll see how we've closed up some of those zones to provide the relevant fit and stability that consumer would be looking for, not only at the end of the race, but at the beginning of the race as well.
Well, Danny, I'm so excited to get this shoe on my feet, test it out. I've already gotten some strides in the haul, and the shoe feels amazing, highly responsive, highly protective. I think it's going to be great for the marathon and make some pretty big upgrades over V1. If you're looking to get this shoe on your feet, it'll be available very soon here at Running Warehouse.